It feels like we're starting quite a few of our episodes talking about the new UAD 3.6 rollout, but that's because it's pretty massive and it's coming up really quickly. We're going to be talking about technology that is live right now that you can try out. Stick around, you're going to want to hear this buzzcast.
LIA Administrators and Insurance Services, serving valuation professionals since 1978. We provide E&O insurance with a commitment to superior customer service, outstanding liability education, and unmatched claim defense. Explore our exclusive appraiser liability education by Peter Christensen and cost-effective seminars designed to foster your growth. Our underwriters, with an average of 26 years of experience each, are dedicated to supporting appraisers. Visit liability.com to discover how LIA can safeguard your business. You're listening to the Appraisal Buzzcast with your host, Hal Humphreys.
Welcome back to today's Appraisal Buzzcast. I'm Jim Morrison. With me, as always, is our host, Hal Humphreys. Hey, Hal, how you doing?
I'm doing great today, Jim. How are you?
Good. Well, we recently met our guest today, Humza Ahmed, founder of Automax AI at Valuation Expo. His tool is already helping Canadian appraisers save time, and now he's bringing it to the U.S. We're going to talk about the UAD 3.6 transition and how AI is transforming appraisals. Let me bring him in. Hey, Humza.
Hey, nice to see you guys again. How's it going?
Good.
Doing great. Humza, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. To get us started, tell our listeners how you got into the appraisal space and what inspired you to launch Automax AI.
Yeah, I think similar to most people in our industry, a lot of it comes from family. My family's been in the appraisal industry for the last 40 years or so. My grandpa first started appraising, I don't know, back in the 1980s or something, and then a bunch of my aunts and uncles and
Settle
cousins and
down,
everyone
settle down.
else.
That's not that long ago. That's not that long ago.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm actually the black sheep of my family, I would say, for not having gone down the appraisal route initially. I went in and I studied software engineering at university, and I specialize in machine learning and AI. And I used to do machine learning research for the better part of the last 2.5 years or so, working on these LLMs, these large language models like ChatGPT or the different models that are out there from different providers, researching how to make them better, how to make them more effective on different tasks. And the two worlds for me really collided around a year ago when I was visiting a bunch of my cousins and aunts and uncles and all who are all appraisers. And they kept complaining to me about the hours and hours and hours of time that they were spending doing these appraisal reports, just filling in their 1004s, filling in their 1004 MCs and all these different other reports that they had as well. And they tried everything. They tried outsourcing it to VAs in other countries. They tried doing different software programs and providers that were there. And I just took a look at the process from them. And for some context, I also was a trainee appraiser, though I never got my full certification. So I was fairly familiar with the process as I was before. And I just wrote up over a weekend some quick scripts that used some LLMs to help them do some parts of the report. And that was really it. I pretty much just forgot about it, drove back to Waterloo where I was staying. And a week later, they called me up again. They said, Humza, you have no idea how much time this has been saving us. It's crazy. We have a ton more friends who we showed it to, and they want you to build more stuff like this. You got to do more stuff with AI and appraisals. And so really it was my aunt predominantly who dragged me into doing more of this at scale. And then it ended up helping a lot of appraisers in Canada. So we wanted to bring it over to the States here as well and start doing a ton of this at scale.
That's awesome. So you're live in Canada. You've got the product working in Canada. You're coming to the US. Tell me, what are the core capabilities of your appraisal copilot, especially around comps, report generation, and workflow automation?
Yeah, I always say that appraisals really just comes down to four different things, right? There's four parts of the process that we have. We have a property inspection, then we have gathering all our relevant data on our market, our subject, our comps, whatever it is, then analyzing that data, and then filling in a report. It's always been pretty much these four steps, even though the tools that we might use to do any of the steps have changed over time. And so what we really wanted to build with Automax is something end-to-end, something that covers all four of those steps that are there. So for the actual inspection, how we handle data and working with all this data a lot faster is we have the inspection, instead of being an app where you would go in and have a bunch of checklists and forms and fill them in the way people are used to, replace that with a video recording. So what appraisers do on our platform is they will hit record on their phone and they'll do a walkthrough of the entire property. while they're walking through, they can transcribe their speech so they can talk over it. They can say, hey, I see granite countertops in the kitchen, or whatever they see on the walls, or the finished appliance, whatever they want to note. And it will use the video footage as well to be able to extract a bunch of the details that it sees about the property. So now that inspection is really just a single walkthrough of the property instead of having to go in and take all these notes and go through different processes as typically you would. And then when you go over to the comp side, what we really want to do is try and automate all the data work that's being done. So there's a ton of grunt work in the process. May it be you have 200 comps in this market that just sold in the last 90 days. You want to find the 3 to 6 that actually matter, that are actually comparable in the things that you want to filter on. Maybe the MLS only lets you put a filter on GLA, but you want properties that are truly waterfront because the realtors don't write that it's waterfront in the listing. But if you take a look at the map and the photos, you can definitely tell that it's waterfront. So being able to search for things like that and use AI as a companion to help you search through data. And one of my favorite things is actually to be able to analyze data, to have AI write code for you to be able to do different sorts of graphs and analyses and all that sort of stuff. I'm a huge fan of evidence-based valuation. I took George Dell's courses on stats and data science and appraisals earlier on at the start of this year. So I really tried to focus on building a lot of that into the platform as well.
Okay. I like the idea of the walkthrough, gathering information, and being able to use voice to text to augment that, or voice recording and then have that transcribed. That's one of the most useful tools I have. And it seems like to me, for myself, I use a software package, I use an inspection tool, I use voice to text, and I'm using basically a tech stack that has 4 or 5 different disparate pieces of tech, trying to bring them into one report. And it sounds like you're kind of eliminating the stack with one tool.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal, right? Is just do everything end to end. So appraisers only need to access one tool to be able to do the entire workflow, right? And when you have one tool for everything, that's when you can really get efficiencies, right? If you're a firm that's doing several hundred appraisals a month and you want to scale at that point, it's very, very inefficient to try and move data across all these different pieces. So having it in one platform means that it can very easily populate straight into your report. So as soon as you open up the report, the first draft's already there for you.
Awesome. All right, so UAD 3.6 is just right there, right? It's about to happen. And you've been dealing with 1004, 1004 MC, those kind of things. How are you guys preparing to help appraisers get ready for the structured data and form-driven requirements with UAD 3.6?
Yeah, 100%. There's two big things I would say in 3.6 that are the most impactful, I believe, on the actual appraisal workflow. Number one is all the new data that appraisers now need. I forgot the exact number, but there's well over 120 or so data points now that extra that we need to collect from the inspection that were never needed before. And when it comes to the report, the structure of this report is so different now. There's so much less free text and it's so much more drop downs and pre-selected values and really being more discrete in the variables and things that are there instead of being random and free text. And I think that helps software a lot. Obviously, it helps the review systems that are going to be reviewing a report, but it even helps the software that people are making to help generate these reports and help make that generation flow a lot easier. A lot of softwares are going to be talking about AI and the ways that we use AI for all sorts of things. Most of that report filling is not really AI, right? When it comes down to just filling in fields with predefined values, it's a lot of traditional programming and not necessarily AI. I think the biggest part of AI that really helps with the new UAD and helping adapt is to learn about what to put in different sections of the report. So we have all this amazing documentation that's been put out there by Fannie and Freddie, like their F1 reference document. And so what we did is we trained our AI models to be able to answer questions and cite sources from that F1 document. So if there's any field where you have a question about what should go here, or you're not sure about if you collected the data for this field that's required or not required, you can ask in a chat message exactly whatever you're looking for. If you want to know what a PERS index is or what you're meant to put in or how to even gather that data, right? Have it go and retrieve this data from online sources. So really helping with dealing with all this new data. I think that's the biggest advantage.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you mentioned that Automax AI can turn appraisal tasks that typically take days into minutes. How does that work in practice? How are you achieving that time compression?
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest for this is now leveraging a first draft that's pre-written for you when you start the appraisal. And the way that's done is when you do that inspection that we mentioned earlier on, and you say the data from the inspection, we now have a full profile of your subject property, and all that the market area directly around it. What we do is we use AI to actually write a first draft report using that data. And this first draft is personalized based off of your experiences and types of reports that you've written. So anytime we onboard a new appraiser or an appraisal firm, we typically have them upload a handful of past reports that they've done, maybe 40, 50. The more they have, the better. And so what you can do is you can have these AI systems that are generating the narratives or the different sections or the different ways and styles that you would like to do your analysis personalized to the way that you've done it in the past. And so what that really helps you do is anytime that you open up our application on the web, a first draft of the report is already there for you. So that iteration time now, when it comes to previously, if it was going to my MLS and getting a new search of sales and writing export and then standardizing that data, importing into RStudio or Excel or whatever else, writing formulas, then I have the final outputs and I go to my form filling software and I fill it in there. So replacing all of that with a first draft and iteration through chat, iteration through just being able to type in what you're looking for and having that done for you. And we've seen that be widely successful for us so far. I mean, the average time I feel for kind of a more cookie cutter 1004 on our platform is about 20 minutes. So I think there's a massive shift happening towards that. And I think with time, as more and more appraisers do more complicated properties on the platform as well, we'll get even better at those as well.
You know, one of the things that I value more than just about anything is feedback from people that we deal with, students, conference attendees, those kind of things. How do you look at feedback, number one? You know, how is it shaping your product for UAD 3.6? And what are appraisers telling you? What kind of feedback are you getting?
Yeah, feedback is always a fun one and a tricky one because the truth is that everyone always has an opinion. And it's very important to think about what feedback is actually contributing towards making a better appraisal product and workflow, and what is taking you in the opposite direction. What I mean by that is a lot of appraisers, their goal with a lot of the software that they're seeing is they're used to using an ACI or a total, and so their goal is I want to recreate that in this software. Whereas what we're trying to do is we're trying to actually change that workflow. So you're no longer doing step-by-step process, inspection, enter data from here, enter data into here, and try and change it to be something new. And when you do that, there's always going to be different opinions and different people that are trying it out for the first time and have different things to say. That being said, there's been lots of stuff that's been very, very useful. For example, we mentioned the speech transcription and note-taking in the inspection app. Well, one of the appraisers was using our app. He tried that out and he had the homeowner who was walking right next to him. And the homeowner kept pointing out all these extra improvements on all these extra things that they'd done. And that was getting picked up as well. And so we added an extra layer for figuring out which speaker is who to be able to differentiate so that only the appraiser's transcription is actually kept track of and not all this extra stuff that the homeowner can try and slot in. So there's been a lot of different fun cases similar to that one that have come up. I think feedback is always useful. When you put a product into production and have actual appraisers using it, that's when you're going to iron out all the kinks and figure out if it's actually useful or not.
And that's you just said something, bring a product into production. You've got this AI tool that you've brought from concept with your aunt's input to market. That's never an easy process. What has been your biggest challenge, technical, regulatory, or adoption related in this process?
Yeah, I mean, the tech side, I'm a tech guy. Everyone on our team is a tech guy. We all come from the similar backgrounds in AI and machine learning. So I don't think that's been the most challenging thing. There has been a lot of new stuff that's come up, but I think the trickiest thing when you're working in the appraisal industry is that you have kind of these two different types of appraisers or branches of appraisers, right? You have a lot of these appraisal firms that are now trying to standardize processes and scale and they'll really build a business, right, at large. They want to build a large-scale business doing appraisals for all sorts of clients. And then you have more lifestyle appraisers as well, who their goal is just to appraise a couple of properties a week, make a nice, normal living, and not really treat it as a business. And what means is, generally speaking, you have to build for one or the other. It's a lot harder to build for both groups at once because their priorities are different. One of them really prioritizes time and speed and efficacy. The other one really prioritizes just ease of use, and they want something a little bit cheaper, and they want something that is just good enough, right? And so in adoption, that's been our biggest thing that we've seen these two different groups there. And who do we want to cater towards? Who do we want to work with? And that's been a big thing for us, as we think I think everyone in the appraisal industry knows that change is coming and the role of the appraiser is significantly changing going into the future. And so we're placing our bets on those appraisers who really want to treat it as a business and really want to try and grow their business and do more in the industry and innovate as the people we want to partner with as well.
I love it. That's great. And that is absolutely where we all need to be is focusing on the people that see this as a business and see this work as important work, and they want to make themselves better, more efficient, do the work appropriately. And one of the things that Hamza that I think is really critical is the work of an appraiser has over the years grown to include a bunch of different steps that are not necessarily part of the appraisal process. And anything we can do to make those steps easier and faster, I think is a good thing. Before we wrap up, just I want to hear from you. What are some of your views on common misconceptions about AI in general, and then the appraisal process and UAD 3.6 readiness?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads, right? In the AI boat, there's always, I feel like, the two extremes, where one extreme thinks that AI is already capable of absolutely everything, and AI is just perfect, and it's just this magic super intelligence that's able to do everything at once. And if I ask AI to do something, it's gonna be perfect the first time around. And we have the other group, which is, in my opinion, the complete opposite, where they think that it's absolutely inconsistent and never reliable, and you should never use it for anything. And it's going to be real maybe 10 years from now, but today it's absolutely out of the window. And I'll tell you this, appraisals is even a little bit late, I would say, to adopting AI compared to a lot of
Mhm.
other industries that have been doing this. We see it so much in healthcare and legal and all these other knowledge work intensive industries where they've been on this since 2023, since 2024, since the earliest models of these LLMs were coming out, doing a lot of adoption and early test cases. So I think the tech is definitely there, but it's always important to take it with a grain of salt, right? Where if you're an appraiser and you're accepting content that's been generated by AI into your report, you have to really accept it as your own, right? You can't play the blame game at that point. It comes down to you to verify. And the appraiser's role has always been to verify information. We have realtors that will list a 700 square foot home as having 13 rooms. That doesn't actually mean that it has 13 rooms. The role is to the appraiser to always do verification. May it be on someone else's work or may it be on an AI tool's work. That doesn't mean that it's not going to be consistent or there'll be a lack of all these other things. I think that will come with time. And I think it's very important to just try something before you make an opinion. Give it a shot, see how it feels, and be open-minded going into that. And I think your second point was on misconceptions on the UAD. I think I've seen a lot of appraisers that I've talked to recently, even at Val Expo, that think that the profession is dying or that it's hopeless or that the UAD is going to increase turn times and cut fees and we won't be able to make a living anymore. I think that it's a very important frame anytime you talk about this in the opportunity that's here and what's coming and what's not coming, right? I think it may be true in some cases and for some roles of appraisers that it's changing. 100% it's changing. 100% it's not going to be the same that it's been for the last 20, 30 years. But every change that comes up in any industry brings about so much opportunity with it as well. And as people who are running a business, the biggest skill that you can have is to spot opportunity and to capitalize on it, right? And throughout all of history, we've seen this pattern that's come up again and again and again, where a new tech or a new piece of change, regulatory change, brings about new things that were never possible before. And it's never in history been possible before to do these full appraisal reports in 10, 20 minutes. And so I feel like people who take advantage of the opportunities that they have today and take advantage of seeing where the role is going and adapting with it are going to be the ones who are succeeding the most.
I had the chance to speak with an appraiser in my hometown, which is a very small hometown in West Tennessee. And this guy's probably in his 70s. And he said, as a business owner, if I can do more work in less time and charge a smaller fee, but make more money overall, that's a really good business decision. And he has been doing that with his appraisal business for the past couple of years, accepting hybrids and desktop appraisals. And I think we as appraisers oftentimes think about the fee is, whatever the fee is, and I'm not going to take any less than that. And I hear a lot of people talk about, the fees are the same as they were 15 years ago. Well, 15 years ago, we had to go to the courthouse and make photocopies and staple things together and bring them back in a paper file. We don't have to do that anymore. So if we can save time, I think from a business perspective, it's reasonable to expect we might charge a smaller fee, but we're going to be doing more work and therefore possibly increasing our overall income. I, Maybe I'm wrong about that, Hamza, but I think, if we think about these things as a business person, when you see opportunities to quicken your pace, realize efficiencies in the process, and you can get it done faster and charge a little bit less, but do more overall, I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, 100%. And it's been so much fun also seeing so many appraisers design their own workflows or their own ideas on how they want to be productive and use this tech as well, right? Not everyone's going to use it in the same way. And the great thing is to be able to do personalization, build your own workflow, and build the own way that you want to do your process. Maybe your goal is you want to do 5 inspections in the same day, and you want to have a trainee maybe going out there and doing those inspections, and a second person sitting on a desktop at home. And as soon as the inspection's coming in, a report's being generated right there. Maybe you want to try something different, right? I think it's in your wheelhouse now to be able to explore and try things.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, I need to do one thing. I've got to hear from one of our commercial sponsors, and as soon as we get through hearing from them, we will be right back.
Are you ready to take your career in real estate appraisal to the next level? Join the Appraisal Institute, your go-to source for expert insights, industry trends, and the latest updates from the world of valuation. Whether you're an experienced appraiser or just starting out, they bring you industry resources, classes, and all the knowledge you need to stay ahead. Join today and be part of a community that's shaping the future of the appraisal profession. Visit appraisalinstitute.org to learn more and become a member.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Appraisal Buzzcast. I'm Hal Humphreys, your host. I'm joined today by Humza Ahmed. Humza, thank you so much for taking time to be with us. I've totally enjoyed the conversation. It's we've spent a lot of time working with the Appraisal Development Initiative and bringing new people into the business. I know you came to this the old school way through family, but it is nice to see younger people in this business and around this business, kind of adjacent to the business. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Jim Morrison, do we by chance have an anonymous appraiser question we need to deal with today?
No, we don't have one. If anyone does have questions they want our experts to answer, reach out to us at comments@appraisalbuzz.com or put something in the YouTube comments. Humza, we really appreciate you joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you back in Vegas for Appraisal Summit, September 27th through the 30th.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Humza, thank you. If we have nothing else for Jim Morrison and Humza Ahmed, I'm Hal Humphreys, and that is your Appraisal Buzzcast for this week.